Welcome back to A Look Back, the series where I take a look back at old games. I just finished playing through an overlooked classic, Sleeping Dogs. So sit back, relax, and let me tell you about the world of Sleeping Dogs. Sleeping Dogs takes place in present-day Hong Kong. You play as Wei Shen, a police officer, that has just been assigned to go undercover and investigate the Sun On Yee triad. Obviously, things get complicated as Wei has to learn to balance this double life, learn to leave his personal feelings out, and deal with his own past coming back to haunt him. The story is designed like a really good crime drama. The game is filled with over-the-top explosive action, blindsiding betrayals, and mysteries that will keep you coming back for more. And Sleeping Dogs does a fantastic job of blending all of these elements together for a fantastic experience. So let's delve into the story review. And I won't be spoiling anything because if you haven't played this game, then I would love for you to experience this game for yourself, spoiler-free. Overall, the story is really good. At the end of the day, what I want is an engaging story and characters that are interesting and leave an impression, even when I turn off the game. And Sleeping Dogs achieves this. Wei Shen is a fantastic protagonist. He isn't just another generic main character in an overly saturated open world. He is complex and morally gray. You really feel the impact each choice Wei has to make, slowly destroying his psyche and turning him into the criminals he swore to stop. You and Wei begin to discover there is more to the Sun On Yee than drugs, murder, and crime. It's really good writing because it makes you question your morals and almost makes you have to take a step back and think about who the bad guys are supposed to be. There also aren't really any throwaway characters for the most part. I felt almost every character had a reason to be there and wasn't just there to inflate the story. While not every character has this privilege, majority I felt had a purpose and well thought out storyline. So the story is split up into two main mission types. There are main story missions and there are cop missions. The main story missions are what they sound like. They progress the main story of Wei and the Sun On Yee, and the cop missions are a series of various investigations that Wei assists with. The cop missions are definitely more in the realm of supplementary content, but they're enjoyable to work through and allow Wei to be a full-on cop instead of the ambiguous undercover cop he had gotten used to. Now, is the story perfect? No, far from it. There are still its fair share of missions that feel like simple fetch quests or trying to show you bland side content that is offered. Nothing against the karaoke missions, but other games have done it better. And to Sleeping Dogs' credit, most of these bland side quests at least move the story forward. But there are better ways to do that than making me drive to the nearest dress shop for a wedding dress. Yeah, that was a mission. Luckily, these missions are fairly uncommon, and for the most part, Sleeping Dogs moves the story along nicely, with missions that aren't too over the top, mostly. I also think the story ended at a good point and didn't drag on too long. Many open world games like this I feel overstay their welcome and try to get their playtime up to their own detriment. Looking at you, Assassin's Creed Valhalla. So my overall thoughts on the story are it's really great and one that should receive more praise. Now onto the gameplay of Sleeping Dogs. The way I would describe Sleeping Dogs is it's Batman Arkham City if Batman threw the Joker into a furnace or skewered the Penguin with a swordfish. So what does this mean? Well, the combat has the same blueprint as Batman Arkham City. It uses a free-flow combat system where enemies attack Wei and he counters and unleashes his own flashy combat maneuvers on the gang of foes. Wei starts the game with a fairly basic roster of attacks. He can punch, counter, grab, perform heavy attacks, and execute combo moves. While that sounds fairly basic, combining all of this with environmental kills and an assortment of melee weapons you can pick up make for a really enjoyable combat system that I never got sick of. Honestly, from a gameplay perspective, I was a little disappointed when the game ended because I was really enjoying the basic gameplay that was offered. I think what makes it so much fun is the unique way Sleeping Dogs does environmental kills. There are one-shot kills that Wei performs from her grab and are absolutely brutal, yet demonically satisfying and clever to witness. You can bash a dude's head through a fish tank or drown a thug in a dirty toilet. It has the same vibes as Mortal Kombat, where you cringe watching but also can't stop. But of course, this wouldn't matter if the standard hand-to-hand combat wasn't really good, and it is. Now, unfortunately, the gameplay isn't perfect, it's far from it. Two aspects definitely stop it from being a masterpiece. The first is shooting. Yes, there is shooting in Sleeping Dogs, and it isn't introduced until you've made it a decent bit through the game. The best way I would describe the shooting mechanic is sluggish. It's imprecise and honestly boring. There's a very small assortment of guns that all feel very similar. You basically have pistols, machine guns, and shotguns. Every pistol feels the same and every machine gun feels the same. Shooting definitely feels like a last-minute addition that was mainly unnecessary. My only guess for why this was added is to make the game feel more like an open-world driving shooting game like Grand Theft Auto and Saints Row. It's honestly a shame because I think Sleeping Dogs had a great foundation and had done a nice job of building its own identity that adding in cheap shooting mechanics is disappointing. The other aspect of Sleeping Dogs that I found underwhelming was the driving. Now, the driving wasn't as bad as I felt the shooting was, but it was still clunky. I never felt it reached the heights of games like Grand Theft Auto or Saints Row. Similar to the shooting, it felt like an afterthought and could have had more time put into its basic flow and mechanics. Now, unlike the shooting, I don't feel it's a waste and is still enjoyable at times, but it isn't anywhere near the level of polish it should have been at. Overall though, the core gameplay is its enjoyable combat system, and that's Sleeping Dogs nails. Of course, let me quickly talk about how the game runs. The game was delisted on the PS5 store because of major issues, most notably constant crashing. Instead of fixing it, the game was just delisted. But you can still buy the game on the online PS Store or the app. So if you want to risk it and play on PS5, then by all means go for it. But my experience is on the PC. I was able to run the game at a consistent 1080p with roughly 30 frames per second. There were definitely drops at points, especially cutscenes. I'll be honest, cutscenes were a little rough. They definitely felt choppy and needed some work. Did it ruin my experience? No, but I am someone that can forgive a lot, so keep this in mind. Luckily, Sleeping Dogs is consistently on sale, so you can buy the game at low stakes if performance is something that can really make or break a game for you. So those are my thoughts. Overall, I think Sleeping Dogs is a really good game with some glaring flaws, but none that stop it from being a classic that everyone should try someday. Sleeping Dogs is one of those games that I will forever be disappointed won't get a sequel, unless Simu Liu has something to say about that. If you haven't played this game, put it on your radar. It's well worth your time. So thanks for watching. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and make sure to like and subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.